Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and thanks to McGovern Ford in Lowell, Massachusetts, I'm getting to experience the 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E. This is the 4X version, so we have two electric motors, one in the front, one in the rear, and the extended battery, which should give us around 265 to 270 miles of range. But I really want to talk about the livability and the drivability and kind of the tricks up the Ford sleeve, because having driven this for just a short time, I've already experienced things in this EV that I haven't really felt in others. It is an SUV or a CUV. It's kind of a small SUV, which means you get the practicality of a nice large rear seat with seating for 5. The only problem is because we've got all these batteries underneath weighing 4,800 pounds. This thing weighs 4,800 pounds. We're going to talk about how that impacts the suspension when we get on the road, but that means we don't have a ton of cargo room back here because we've got to elevate. Now, underneath here, and we've got our charger here, so if you wanted to charge at home, you can do so. And we've got some funky controls for the door. We've got just buttons and this little handle, which I think this handle changed from the prototype that I saw when I originally got introduced to the Mach-E at Fenway Park, which was actually very cool. But inside, it's just a very sleek, clean design. We've got the Bang & Olufsen sound system, a nice giant center screen, and if you're familiar with what's going on in the design language in the Ford world, that's not that unfamiliar anymore. And of course, the rotary gear selector, which you all hate so much in the Mustang GT500. I don't know why. Let's jump in the rear. The door extends itself to you, which is lovely. And when we get back here, there's plenty of leg room, actually. This is a comfortable place, and it's well reclined. I don't feel like I'm sitting too far upright in the vehicle. But we've got, of course, cup holders, a couple of USB chargers down here, and a lovely glass roof. I think Ford really nailed it with this glass roof because I think introducing light into these cabins is just so critical for a modern vehicle. There is a bit of storage up in the front. A frunk, if you will. Is this the first Ford with a frunk? I mean, maybe a Ford GT has a frunk. I'm not sure. I'm not wealthy enough to know that. But under here, not a ton of space, but not unusual for what you would see in any electric vehicle. And we've got nice little dividers. So I love that because you can kind of shove stuff in there without it going and flopping all around and breaking on you. Now, typically for me, I would have loved this to put, a couple quarts of oil, but obviously you're not going to need that in your electric Mustang. They did go all out, putting Mustang logos everywhere. There's even a Mustang logo on the underside of this hood. But overall, I think the Mach-E is a really handsome vehicle. I think they did a great job on the styling. And although you may disagree with the idea of calling it a Mustang, I can't disagree that it's a handsome car. And maybe it's just the name. I mean, even these taillights, I know they're Mustang, but gosh, they look great. But none of that matters if it doesn't drive well. So let's jump in and go for a ride. We've got two screens. We've got our big center screen right here. That's going to give us all of our drive modes and information. But in here, we've got all the critical information we want for driving. So we've got our range. We're at 96%, 261 miles of range. We know that we have the brake on. And I love that it says ground speed for your speedometer. That's kind of fun. This one has almost 5,000 miles on it. It's being used as a loaner. I will say it looks like Ford stole from Volkswagen or Porsche on this. This looks like the door handle release looks just like the new shifter on the 911. We've got a wireless charging setup here right on that nice center console, and there's cavernous space below, so you can put quite a few things in here as well as in that pocket. We've got all of our drive modes here. If we select the car, engage, whisper, and unbridled, and then next to it there's information. Now the information I don't think really tells you what you want to hear. What I want to hear when I see information is like relaxed steering feel and low resolution throttle control, but instead it's just kind of telling you like, oh, it's calm, it's quiet. So I guess it's kind of like the layman's version, and that's fine. Let's just go to unbridled because why the heck not? We got one pedal driving, and I'm going to talk about this because I think that's really important in this vehicle. So let's turn off our parking brake, put it in drive, and off we go. Very quiet. And I've got the propulsion sounds on right now, but I also have one pedal driving. And one pedal driving, this is what we're going to talk about first, because I think Ford has done a really good job, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this. But let's get a little acceleration going. Ready? 1, 2, 3, stand on it. it gets up and goes. That's not so bad. All right, let's talk about the one-pedal driving first, because I think if there's anything you take away from this video, it's that Ford's programming on one-pedal driving is my new favorite. So, typically in a Tesla with one-pedal driving, you get off the pedal, there's about this much room where you can articulate and judge how aggressive you want it to regen brake. And if you get off of it fast, it brakes very fast. It can be frightening, it can be a little weird, and I'm not a huge fan of it, which is why Audi and Porsche have gone without one-pedal driving, and I can understand why. It's a much more natural thing. Ford, however, has this great curve where as you get off the pedal, it doesn't just hit you with full force based on how fast you got off the pedal. It actually tapers off. So if I get off the pedal, it starts off gentle and then gets more and more and more and more aggressive as the car slows down. And it'll come to a complete stop with that one pedal driving. I find this much easier to manage as a driver. Let's see how this accelerates again. Jump into these brakes. Nice loud tires. See, that's one of those things that electric cars are doing, just like the hybrids, where they're trying to get as much range, they're trying to get as much efficiency out of the vehicle. So a lot of times that means hard, loud rubber on the vehicle. It's not my favorite, but look, I get it. You're trying to eke out those EPA ratings. That does mean, though, although you can launch this car in the middle of a city and basically be unseen and undetected, when you get into the brakes, everyone's going to look because it's gonna make a scene. Gorgeous NSX here, very nice. He's not going to look at me, and that's fine. He doesn't have to. Why would he? But let's take a right up here. Yes. All right. Here's the thing about this car, though. It is heavy. It is a large vehicle. It's 4,800 pounds. And to put that into perspective, a Ford Explorer is kind of in that 4,400 pound range. So although it may not be a large vehicle, now I didn't touch the brakes on that, by the way. All I did was let off the gas. It's very easy to judge where you're going to stop with this one pedal driving. While it's not the largest vehicle, you still need to take into account that this is heavy. And that's something that I just don't think electric vehicles are going to be able to solve for a very long time, because we need battery technology to change dramatically to get lighter vehicles. The biggest problem I find with the weight of the vehicle isn't necessarily that it's not going to handle like a sports car, which it does do a pretty good job of with such a low center of gravity, but it's the fact that you need to have such stiff springs on a heavy vehicle in order to make it function well. So that means that you get a little more of a bouncy ride. Now, when you're Rolls-Royce or Bentley, you get away with this with some fancy suspension, and you can get away with some oscillations, where in a typical consumer vehicle, you're just gonna make it stiff, and that isn't always the most pleasant driving experience. Lots of tire noise. Off we go. No exhaust under the bridges, unfortunately. That's the big downside of the EV world, right? We got the acceleration, but we don't get the thrill of the sound coming from our burly V8s. The cabin's also really well insulated. I mean, we're at low speeds, so let's get it out on the highway and see how she does. Great corner exit traction with this all-wheel drive system. I mean, you do notice that she's got some heft. That's something that you're not going to get around. 4,800 pounds is hard to hide, especially if you're not going to be on some seriously sticky rubber. But the systems of the car do a very good job of sorting it out, so it's pretty easy to drive fast. You know, you're not afraid to approach some limits in it. The suspension on the Mach-E on the highway, this is where you start to notice that high spring rate to make up for its weight. And Tesla suffered from the same thing, so it's hard to say which is better. I mean, maybe this edges out the Model 3 Performance that I spent some time in recently by like just a hair, maybe not a lot, but I do think it's a more comfortable interior experience than the Tesla. And I think that's just something that we're going to have to suffer through with the EV boom, because there's not like a fix for that unless you go for some really expensive suspensions. And at that point, you're not in that like consumer everyman's EV in that like $35,000 to $55,000 range. You're getting into some high-tech stuff. Let's also see how the power reacts at about 70 miles an hour. Wide open throttle. Tesla's got a leg up on pretty much every EV, even with Porsche and Audi. The range on the Porsche and Audi, not quite as great as they need to be when we talk about e-tron GT and Taycan. But, you know, Ford, I think, has really brought in real competition in the electric vehicle world, because this Ford Mustang Mach-E, it really does aim at a more normal consumer base, and maybe a more normal consumer base that's trading in a normal car. There's been quite a lot of people who are not ready to adopt an electric vehicle. I think the Mach-E and the new Ford F-150 Lightning, those are going to really change the game on who ends up driving these cars. The steering weights up really nicely. I have to applaud Ford because the driving dynamics of this, it's just wonderful. It's really easy to get into. It's very intuitive. The seating position is great. I'm nice and low in the vehicle, and I feel high up. I do feel like I'm in an SUV, although the ground clearance isn't that wild, because you've got to remember we still have the batteries down there. So there isn't as much ground clearance as you may have on a similar internal combustion engine CUV of this size. Okay, that's like a little aggressive. We have no collision thing happening here, so that's going to annoy me. However, this isn't the only car that does that kind of abruptly and without reality in check. So, you know what? Applaud it for having a pre-collision and letting me know. But sometimes I wish I could turn these kind of safety features off. They freak me out. They make driving a little more scary, because now I'm looking down instead of looking up at the thing that I should be looking out for. The big center display is how you control everything pretty much, and it works well. It's quick. It does what I ask it to do when I ask it to do it. Although the problem with all of these systems is that I do have to take my eyes off the road to interpret what's going on, because I don't have a physical button with some feedback to let me know that I've done the thing. So I would always encourage every auto manufacturer to stick with traditional buttons for as much as they can possibly do with radio, HVAC system, etc. I mean, this does have a physical button for the volume, that knob, that's great. We appreciate that. But I'm not in love with having to operate my HVAC system from there, and that's true of any vehicle with a touchscreen like that. Special thanks to McGovern Ford here in Lowell, Massachusetts, for letting me take a drive in this Mustang Mach-E. I think this is a formidable contender in the EV market, and there's a couple things that I would change, and if Ford can figure out how to release some of the stiff driving characteristics that are needed in a heavy vehicle and add some buttons, man, we would really be owning. But that's not just a Ford problem, that's everybody in the market. So thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. Massachusetts is weird, man. We're just in the city, and now we are in some country-ass country. It doesn't take long to get to a different environment out here. It's a little too Final Destination for my liking.